Detective Michael Carter could not believe what he was seeing. Standing in front of him, inside the cold gray interrogation room, was himself. Same face, same tired green eyes, same scar near the left eyebrow from a childhood accident. The only difference was that the man across the table was wearing handcuffs. Michael's hand trembled as he flipped through the file on the table. The name printed in bold at the top read, Michael Carter. The photo attached was of the man sitting opposite him, his exact copy. "How is this possible?" Michael whispered. The man in cuffs smirked. "I should be the one asking that. You've been living my life for years." Michael stared at him, heart pounding. His voice came out shaky. "Who are you?" "I'm your twin," the man said softly. "The one you thought died 20 years ago." Michael froze. His mind spun in circles. He remembered that day, the fire that took his brother Daniel. The police had found no body, just ashes. The memory still haunted him. But now, Daniel was alive, sitting right there. Before Michael could speak, Daniel leaned forward, his eyes sharp. "You're investigating the wrong crimes, brother. The real case is you." Michael's breath caught. "What are you talking about?" Daniel's grin faded. "You'll find out soon enough." The room went silent, the air heavy with something that felt bigger than either of them. The fluorescent light above flickered, and for a second Michael saw his reflection in the glass wall. Two identical men staring back at him. Only one of them smiled. Then Daniel whispered, "They told you I died, but did you ever see my body?" Michael's eyes widened. Before he could reply, the door burst open. Captain Harris stormed in, face pale. "Detective Carter," he said quickly, "step outside now." Michael looked from his captain to his twin. "What's going on?" "Now!" Harris barked. Michael stood, confused. But as he reached the door, he heard Daniel's voice behind him. Low, cold, certain. "You'll never know who you really are, Michael. Not until it's too late." The words chilled him to the bone. Outside the room, Harris shut the door and whispered, "We have a problem. The DNA results came back." Michael frowned. "And?" Harris hesitated. "They're identical. Completely. Down to the smallest detail. The system says you both can't exist." Michael blinked, feeling dizzy. "What do you mean, can't exist?" "I mean," Harris said quietly, "the database shows that one of you was erased 10 years ago." Michael felt his stomach drop. "Erased? How is that possible?" But before Harris could answer, alarms blared across the hallway. A red light flashed above them. Officers shouted and ran past. "He's gone! The suspect's gone!" one yelled. Michael spun around toward the interrogation room. The chair was empty. The cuffs lay open on the table. Daniel was gone. Michael's pulse raced as he stared at the empty seat. "How did he get out?" he shouted. Harris barked into his radio. "Lock down the building!" But it was too late. The security footage showed nothing. One moment Daniel was sitting there. The next, he simply vanished. Michael stared at the screen, feeling cold all over. Then, from his phone, a new message appeared. It was a photo of his apartment door. The caption read, "Home sweet home. We need to talk." Michael's grip tightened around his phone. His twin, the brother he thought had died, was out there. And he was waiting for him. Michael grabbed his keys and ran for the exit, his heart pounding harder than ever. He didn't know what Daniel wanted, or how any of this was even real. But one thing was certain. The case had just become personal. And it was far from over. Michael drove through the quiet streets of Boston, rain tapping against the windshield like a ticking clock. His wipers moved in rhythm with his heartbeat, fast, uneven, and full of questions he couldn't answer. Every streetlight flashed over his face, showing a mix of fear and determination. He couldn't stop thinking about the message. Home sweet home. We need to talk. If Daniel was really alive, how did he know where Michael lived? Unless he had been there before. When Michael pulled up to his apartment building, the front door was wide open. His stomach tightened. He stepped inside, gun drawn, every nerve on edge. The lights were off, but a faint glow came from the living room. The TV was on, playing old family videos. Michael froze. On the screen was a clip from when he and Daniel were kids, about 10 years old. They were racing their bikes down a hill, laughing. His mother's voice was in the background, shouting for them to slow down. Then the video changed. Same boys, same hill, but this time, Daniel fell. Michael remembered that day. It was the day Daniel got the scar on his eyebrow, the same scar Michael now had. A low voice spoke from behind him. "Do you remember that fall, brother?" Michael spun around, gun raised. Daniel stood near the doorway, wearing his old leather jacket, the one Michael thought had burned in the fire. He was calm, almost too calm. "You shouldn't be here," Michael said. Daniel smirked. "Funny, I could say the same about you." "Cut the games," Michael said. "You disappeared from a locked room. How did you do it?" Daniel shrugged. "When you know the people who built the room, it's not hard to find the exits." Michael frowned. "What does that mean?" Daniel stepped closer, eyes dark. "You really don't remember, do you?" "Remember what?" "The fire," Daniel said quietly. "It wasn't an accident. It was an experiment, Mitt." Cale's chest tightened. "That's not true." "Oh, it's very true," Daniel said. "We were part of something bigger, a government project. They wanted perfect detectives, perfect memory, perfect instincts. You were their final test." Michael shook his head. "You sound insane." Daniel laughed softly. "Then explain why you don't remember your life before the fire." Michael froze. The words hit like a punch. He tried to recall something, anything from before that day, but all he saw were flashes, hospital lights, a man in a white coat saying, "He's stable now." "Who are you really?" Michael whispered. Daniel's smile faded. "I'm what you were supposed to be, the real one. You're the replacement, a copy built from what they could save of me." Michael's hand trembled around the gun. "You're lying." "Am I?" Daniel said, pulling something from his jacket. A small USB drive. "This has everything, the files, the truth, your creation date." He tossed it onto the floor. "You can look for yourself." Michael bent to pick it up, his mind spinning. When he stood again, Daniel was gone. Only the sound of rain filled the room. Michael rushed to his computer and plugged in the drive. A single folder appeared, Project Mirror. He opened it and saw a list of files, all dated before the fire. Inside one file was a photo, his photo, but the label beneath read, "Subject number 2, clone initiated, Michael Carter." His heart stopped. Suddenly his phone buzzed again. Another message from Daniel. "Now you know the truth, but if you really want answers, meet me where it all began." Below the text was a single location pin, Crescent Hill Research Facility. Michael stared at the screen. Crescent Hill had burned down 20 years ago. Everyone said it was an accident. He looked back at the video still frozen on his TV. Two boys racing downhill, smiling like the world couldn't touch them. Then he grabbed his jacket and badge. "All right, brother," he whispered. "Let's finish this." As he stepped out into the rain, lightning lit up the sky. Far in the distance, through the flash of thunderclouds, he thought he saw a figure standing on the hill, watching him. Then the lights of his car flickered and died. The street went completely dark. And from the shadows, a voice whispered, "You were never supposed to wake up." Michael stood in front of the old Crescent Hill Research Facility, the place that was supposed to have burned to the ground 20 years ago. The night air was thick and cold, the wind howling through broken windows. The tall gray building looked like a ghost, lifeless, but somehow awake. He gripped his flashlight and gun tightly as he stepped through the rusted doorway. The smell of dust and metal filled his nose. His heart thudded in his chest, each step echoing through the empty halls. The floor was littered with burned papers, melted wires, and pieces of broken lab equipment. He followed the faint light coming from down the hall. The word Lab 7 was painted on the cracked wall. It was the same lab from the old reports, the one that had exploded during the fire. As he entered, his flashlight flickered. Then he heard footsteps. "Daniel," Michael called. The light steadied, and there he was. Daniel, standing beside a large computer console covered in dust and wires. The monitors flickered to life as Michael approached. "You came," Daniel said quietly. "I had to," Michael replied. "You wanted me to see something. Show me." Daniel typed a few commands, and the screen filled with lines of old reports, names, and test results. At the top of the file, bold letters glowed on the screen. "Project Mirror, Human Memory Replication Trial." Michael frowned. "What is this?" "It's what made us," Daniel said. "We weren't just twins. We were test subjects. They used my DNA to build you. The perfect detective. They erased your past and gave you mine." Michael's stomach turned. No, I'm real." Daniel shook his head sadly. "You're real enough to think, to feel, to hurt. But you were never meant to know." Michael clenched his fists. "Then why bring me here? Why tell me now?" "Because," Daniel said, "they're still doing it. There are more like you, more copies. They'll replace anyone who digs too deep. I escaped to stop them." Michael took a step closer. "So what do you want from me?" Daniel met his eyes. "Help me destroy it. Every file, every backup, every memory they stole from us. It ends tonight." Michael hesitated. His whole life, his job, his friends, his memories, all came from this project. If he destroyed it, would he even know who he was anymore? Before he could answer, the power flickered. A mechanical voice echoed through the speakers. "Unauthorized access detected. Security activation initiated." Red lights began flashing. Metal shutters slammed down over the exits. The floor shook as the power roared back to life. Daniel ran to the control panel. "They've locked us in." Michael pointed his gun at the console. "Can you shut it down?" "I can try," Daniel shouted, typing rapidly. Sparks flew from the wires. The screen showed countdowns, red warnings flashing. "System purge. 0300 minutes remaining." "What happens when it hits zero?" Michael asked. Daniel looked back at him. "Everything in here, including us, gets wiped." Michael's mind raced. There has to be another way. Daniel turned, his face hard. "There isn't. You can leave, or you can help me finish this." For a long moment, neither of them moved. The hum of the machines filled the room like a heartbeat. Then Michael slowly lowered his gun. "Tell me what to do." Daniel nodded and handed him a cable. "Plug this into the main power core." Michael did as he was told. The screen glowed brighter. But before Daniel could type the final command, a bullet shattered the monitor. Both men ducked. From the doorway, armed agents in black suits stormed in. "Step away from the console," one shouted. Daniel grabbed Michael's arm. "They found us." Gunfire exploded. Sparks and smoke filled the room. Daniel tackled Michael behind a metal table. "Go!" Daniel yelled. "There's a maintenance tunnel behind that wall. Take it and run." "I'm not leaving you," Michael shouted back. Daniel's eyes softened. "You already did. 20 years ago." Before Michael could react, Daniel slammed his hand on a switch. The lights turned white hot, and the alarm screamed. Michael was thrown backward as a blast of light swallowed the room. When he woke up, he was lying outside the building. It was silent now. The facility behind him was nothing but a smoking ruin. He struggled to his feet, coughing, his ears ringing. There was no sign of Daniel, only his old leather jacket lying on the ground. Inside one of its pockets was a folded note. Michael unfolded it with shaking hands. The handwriting was Daniel's. "If you're reading this, it means I finished it. But they'll come for you next. Find the others before they find you." Michael stared at the note, heart heavy. He looked back at the burning building, unsure if his brother was truly gone this time. Then behind him, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. A message appeared. "Hello, Detective Carter. We've been expecting you." He froze. The screen glitched, and for a split second his own face appeared on the display. But it wasn't him. The eyes were colder. Then the phone went black. Michael stood alone under the flickering streetlight, realizing one terrifying truth. The investigation wasn't over. It had only just begun.